Hey YouTube, I'm back with our deck profile, and as promised, now we're going to be going over the Shadow Witches, which is probably the one that most people are interested in. So this is the only card that I had to go out of my way to obtain in terms of the Fighters Collection stuff for the triple R's, because I didn't actually pull any Sinclairs out of 4 boxes, which was kind of really weird. But yeah, so without further ado, we'll get right into it. So it's the main thing to remember is the witches, the Shadow Paladin witches have definitely seen better days. Like, I feel like they were really good when they first came out, and they were really good throughout Legion. But since then, the game has changed quite a bit. So, for one thing, there are more triggers that have effects that can go back into the deck. I'll give you an example. We'll use a No-No, and we'll use Psychic Bird as examples from my previous deck. So, previous video I did was the Genesis Witches, or the OCT Witches. So, now a lot of clans have access to, like, Flame of Victories and Margle Clones, so that does hurt the effectiveness of Fianna's skill. So you do have to work harder now to maintain zeros on the opponent's field. It used to be just whatever, reveal 10, they had to put 2 zeros, and they would usually put like 5k zeros. But now, with the introduction of the GB1 effect triggers like this, or even something like Heart Thump Worker, for example, those type of personal critical triggers for main GB2s and stuff, or even like Ripple's effect trigger and those kind of things, they really hurt the witches, making the witches significantly weaker than they used to be. So they came out with Sinclair to kind of like fix that problem, sort of. Where now it's focusing on like using up opponent's resources, where they have to counterblast if they want to do stuff, and you know, things like that. So the deck did change quite a bit, basically, in order to accommodate those changes. So I'm still running for Mesmerizing Witch Fianna. I still feel like this is the most solid first Vanguard you want to ride. Some people I see only run 3, and I see them running 4 Rias. I actually do it the other way around. So I am only running 3 Rias, because Rias is really just a finisher. Like, after you stride Sinclair, stride Diablo, and then you run out of stuff, if you draw into Rias, or if you still have Rias, you can ride her and try to close out the game, because she can kind of do that still, but it does depend on their zeros. So to replace the 4th Rias, I am running 1 Sharp Fang Witch Fonla, or Fola. She's a card from Infinite Rebirth. If those don't remember her. Her and Etain. Etain was from like the one that Raging Horn was in. But this one actually has a Vanguard or Vanguard effect, which is why it's pretty good. I kind of feel like it's a Diamantes type of tech card that witches have access to. So what it does is, when it's placed on VRR, you can search your deck for up to 2 grade 0 Shadow Paladins, call them separate R, and shuffle the deck. So several ways this card's good. One is it's good with Rias, and it's good with Fianna even. And it's also good if you need to use Diablo, really. So I'm actually thinking of running a 9th grade 3, which would be another one of her. But for now, I'm just keeping it like this. For grade 2s, I am running 4 Witch of Reality Femme. So 4 of her and 4 Fianna, because Fianna does have the ability to retire her or Fianna when she's in Legion from Radar Circle to draw 2 cards if the opponent has 2 or more grade 0s. Whoops. And next, I am running 3 Inspection Witch Deirdre, down from 4, because Rias is at 3. You don't really Legion Rias that often. You're gonna, like, even if you're sitting on Rias, you're gonna be striding a little bit first, and stuff like that. So 3 Deirdre, and next 3 Detel. This is the new Fighters Collection card. So this is a card that actually, I feel, it's here to help with that problem that I was talking about, where they get, so it basically helps get more grade 0s in the opponent's field. So what it does is, when it's placed on R, if you have 2 or more cards with Witch in the original name on your V. So you can only use her effect when you're in Legion, which is the main reason why I only run 3 of her instead of 4 of her. Even like 2 of her might be enough, really, but I feel like because it's an on-R effect, 3 is kind of a better number than 2, because 2 you almost never use it, especially if you have to ride one. So what it does is you can pay the cost. The cost is 0. If you do choose one of your opponent's rear guards or rear guard circle with a rear guard, your opponent looks at 5, reveals 5, calls 0 on top of it. So it does the same thing. It's like a miniature Fiona. It's kind of like the same effect that Ria's has, her non-Legion effect. So that's why, again, Ria's at 3 is fine. So 3 detail, just because it's an extra way to do that. If the opponent tries to like hold out, it is good against stride decks that don't Legion, because it does help take more grade 0s triggers out of their deck, potentially hurting them, weakening the deck. So and then the other grade 2 I'm running is Witch of Secret Books, Adra. So 12 grade 2s, because I wanted to run 2 Adra, not just 1 Adra. And if I were to take one, if I were to drop this to make another one of these in here, I would probably like take one of these out. But it's still pretty good. So she allows them to counter charge and soul charge. And if the opponent has 2 or more grade 0s, in addition to that auto skill that she can do when she hits, she's an 11k. So 2 of her. For grade 1s, 4 Little Skull Witch Nevin. It mandatory search through the deck if there's one in the drop zone. 4 Donna, same effect as Deirdre, only it's grade 1. So 4 of it, because I'm only running, well, 4 of it was always what I was running. And then 3 Witch of Ruination, Sishat, I'm not sure how to say her name. Whatever. So 3 of her, she's a 10k for the witches. So she's good for them to be able to rush. And then 2 Witches Familiar, Kuroma. This replaces Skull Witch Nevin. It doesn't have to counterblast. That's the grade 1s. For the grade 0 trigger lineup, 4 Witch Lizard, Ine. 4 Witch of Black Doves, Goin. So this replaced Grim Revenger, but the draw trigger replaced the stand trigger, because the draw trigger, I mean, I feel like the stand trigger never seemed to appear when I needed it, and it always would go off when I didn't need it. Like, it would always, like, I don't know. It just annoyed me. It had really good artwork, but it's not needed now that we have Goin. And then 4 more Witch Critical, and then 4 Witch Heal. So all Witch triggers, it's just like most standard Shadow Paladin decks now, it's the 4 draw and 8 critical. And then I am still running the Witch of Banquet's Leer. I have often thought of using the grade 3 Searcher, the Dark Goat, but I hate not having a proper boost, and I just don't like that card. So I feel like it's a waste of counterblast. Because grade 3 Searchers, they're great when they work. They're terrible when they fail. So, yeah. So I tend to still go with the consistent plays. So proper 5k booster instead of 4k not proper booster. And yeah. For the stride units, 2 Queen Witch of Transfiguration Sinclair. She is surprisingly good at draining the opponent's counterblasts, which is what I don't know. I kind of feel like they would have YOLO'd a lot more against her, but I see a lot of people that I played against with this, they do tend to actually guard her a lot, using counterblast. So 2 of her, and then 2 Aura Geyser, because he's a really good first stride. Although Sinclair can be a pretty good stride too. It just depends on if you're able. It depends on what order you play, basically. Like if you Legion first, usually you're gonna go into Sinclair after that. If you don't Legion first, Aura Geyser's pretty decent. Next, we're running 2 Diablo, so you can get the Diablo play. Honestly, Diablo is kind of in here as a whatever. Just because he's just really good, so it's kind of like running BLS in a random dark and light Yu-Gi-Oh budget deck. So he's just kind of that good. I feel like he just makes you think of Black Luster Soldier in Yu-Gi-Oh for some reason. He's just that kind of card. He just makes every deck that he goes in really good. So him, and then the last Stride unit, I'm actually running one Grim Recruiter and then one Madu. So Grim Recruiter because they have a hard time calling stuff. They can't call as easily as like other Shadow Paladin decks can. So he's okay in here. And then Madu is in here because of Legion. So that's basically it. People wondering why I don't run 4 Diablo. You can run 4 Diablo. The only thing is with Diablo is they do not have David. Now you can also run David as a starter. But that's not really the play style of the deck. Like you're gonna run into resource problems if you run Diablo and if you try to make an unblockable attack. Now if the other thing is witches cannot really retire the opponent's units, so Diablo can't really, aside from just randomly flipping him up, +1 flip him up just for the critical pressure and the plus 10k and just letting them be able to guard it. I feel like he's good enough at 2 copies, so I'm not running 4, but if you want to run 4, you can run 4. I focus more on the Sinclair and the Aura Geyser plays. So that was basically my updated Shadow Witch deck. Let me know what you think in the comments below, guys, and hope you enjoyed that video. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.